My name is Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell. I'm 32 years old, and on the morning of September 3rd, I collapsed from a massive stroke in my downtown Phoenix office while preparing for a client presentation. I was a marketing executive, living in Arizona, driven, ambitious, climbing the corporate ladder. I had a beautiful condo overlooking the city, a six-figure salary, and what everyone thought was the perfect life. I attended church occasionally, mostly when my mom visited or during major holidays. I prayed when I needed something, but mostly I believed in handling my own problems. I thought I had everything under control. I remember feeling this sudden sharp pain shooting through my head that morning, like lightning striking inside my skull. My vision went blurry, my speech became slurred. I tried to reach for my phone, but my right side went completely numb. The room started spinning. Then everything went dark, but I wasn't gone. I was floating above my body, watching my assistant frantically calling 911 while I lay unconscious on my office floor. It was the most surreal experience imaginable. I felt this overwhelming sense of peace, like I was wrapped in warmth and safety. No panic, no pain, just this incredible calm that I'd never known before. I could see through the walls of the building, watching people in other offices, working at their computers, completely unaware that I had just collapsed. That's when I heard it. This indescribable sound, like a choir of thousands, singing in perfect harmony. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, though I couldn't make out the words. A brilliant light began filling my office, growing brighter and brighter, but it didn't hurt my eyes. It felt like being embraced by pure love itself. And that's when I saw him. Jesus stepped through the light toward me. He wasn't like any painting or statue I'd seen in church. He was tall, with compassionate eyes that seemed to see straight through to my soul. His hair was dark, and his skin had this radiant glow that made everything else seem dim by comparison. When he smiled at me, I felt like I was the most precious person in existence. "Sarah," he said, and his voice was like gentle thunder mixed with flowing honey. It seemed to resonate from everywhere at once. "Come with me." I didn't hesitate. I simply followed him into the light. We moved through what felt like a corridor made of living starlight. I kept glancing back at my office, concerned about leaving my body behind, but Jesus placed his hand on my shoulder and said, "Don't worry about that now. We have much to discuss." Suddenly, we were standing in the most magnificent garden I'd ever witnessed. The grass was so vibrant green it almost glowed. There were flowers that seemed to shift colors as I observed them, and trees that hummed with life itself. The air tasted like the essence of spring morning. I wanted to explore every corner, but I couldn't look away from Jesus. "Sit with me," he said, and a simple wooden bench materialized from nowhere. I sat beside him, and for a moment we just gazed out at the garden in comfortable silence. I felt like a child sitting next to her beloved father, completely secure and cherished. "Jesus," I finally whispered, "am I dead?" He smiled gently. "Your body is failing. Yes, but you're more alive now than you've ever been." I nodded, trying to process this. "So what happens now? Heaven? Are you going to judge me?" His expression became more serious, but his eyes remained full of love. "Sarah, I need to show you something. Something about your life that you haven't understood." He stood and gestured with his hand. The beautiful garden around us dissolved, and suddenly we were standing in my condo, but it looked completely transformed. Everything was covered in this dark, oily substance. The walls, my furniture, even the air seemed thick and contaminated. "What is this?" I asked, horrified. "This is what sin looks like in the spiritual realm," Jesus said quietly. "This is how your home really appears to those who see with eternal eyes." I looked around in shock. My elegant condo that I was so proud of looked like a toxic wasteland. "But I'm not a bad person," I said. "I mean, I don't hurt people or steal or anything like that." Jesus walked over to my bedroom nightstand. "Tell me about this," he said, pointing to my laptop. My heart plummeted. I knew exactly what he meant. "The videos," I whispered. He nodded. "For 8 years you've been filling your mind with pornography. And not just watching, Sarah. Tell me about the rest." I felt my face burn with shame. I could barely form the words. "The masturbation," Jesus said gently. "Every night, sometimes during work breaks, sometimes multiple times a day. I wanted to disappear, to hide somewhere, but there was nowhere to go. I tried to stop, I said, tears beginning to fall. I really did. I deleted apps. I threw away magazines. I prayed about it. I know, Jesus said, but you always returned. Do you know why? I shook my head, crying harder now. Jesus waved his hand again, and suddenly I could see things that had been invisible before. Dark shapes were moving around my condo, twisted, grotesque creatures with glowing yellow eyes and razor-sharp claws. They were everywhere, sitting on my couch, standing by my bed, hovering around my laptop. Demons, Jesus said. They've been living here with you, Sarah. Every time you chose lust over love, every time you chose self-pleasure over self-control, you opened the door and invited them in. One of the demons looked up at me and sneered. Its teeth were black and rotting. She belongs to us, it hissed. We own her. I stumbled backward, terrified. Jesus, I didn't know. I never meant for this to happen. I know, he said, wrapping his arms around me. But ignorance doesn't change spiritual laws. Your body is a temple, Sarah. It was meant to be a holy place where my spirit could dwell, but you turned it into something else. The scene changed again. Now we were standing in a vast library with books that stretched endlessly upward. Jesus pulled out a thick leather-bound book and opened it. This is your life, he said. Every thought, every action, every choice is recorded here. He flipped through pages, and I could see my life playing out like scenes from a movie. Me as a little girl singing praise songs in Sunday school. Me as a teenager, discovering my body was changing. Me in college, curious about sex but too afraid to actually be with someone. Me in my mid-20s finding pornography online and thinking it was harmless. Here, Jesus said, stopping on a page, this is where it really began. I saw myself at 24, alone in my first apartment. After a difficult breakup, I was stressed about work, lonely, and curious. I'd stumbled across some explicit videos online. At first I was just looking, but then came the touching, the rush of pleasure, the shame afterward. One moment of curiosity became 8 years of bondage, Jesus said. Do you see how it grew? Page after page showed my addiction escalating. Soft romantic content became hardcore pornography. Occasional moments became daily rituals. What started as something private became something that controlled my thoughts, my relationships, my entire existence. I saw how it affected my dating life, how I compared every man to the fantasy men in the videos, how I couldn't be intimate with real people because I was addicted to fantasy, how I sabotaged relationships because real love couldn't compete with the instant gratification I got from my secret habit. I tried to stop so many times, I said. I really did. I know, Jesus said, but you were fighting alone. You never truly gave this area of your life to me. You treated it like a bad habit instead of recognizing it as spiritual warfare. He turned more pages. I saw all the times I'd promised God I would quit. All the times I'd deleted apps and cleared my browser history. All the times I'd gone to church feeling guilty and ashamed. You were sincere, Jesus said. But sincerity without complete surrender is powerless against the enemy. The book closed, and we were back in the garden. I felt completely broken, totally exposed. So I'm going to hell? I asked. Jesus looked at me with such incredible love that I started sobbing. Sarah, do you think I would have brought you here just to condemn you? I came to save people, not to destroy them. But I failed, I said. I failed over and over again. Yes, he said, you did. But failure isn't the end of your story. It's often where real surrender begins. He stood and walked over to a crystal-clear stream flowing through the garden. Come here, he said. I followed him to the water's edge. The stream was so clear I could see smooth, colorful stones on the bottom. This is the river of life, Jesus said. It washes away all sin, all shame, all bondage. But you have to choose to step into it. I looked at the water, then back at Jesus. What about all those years? All the damage I did to myself? Forgiven, he said. The moment you truly repent and surrender everything to me, it's gone. But Sarah, you need to understand something important. Forgiveness doesn't mean there are no consequences. Your brain has been rewired by years of addiction. Your view of sexuality and relationships has been twisted. Your ability to experience real intimacy has been damaged. These things can be healed, but it takes time and commitment. I stepped into the water. It was perfectly warm and felt alive, like it was flowing through me instead of around me. I felt years of shame and guilt washing away. The darkness that had been covering my heart was melting away like snow in sunshine. This is what real cleansing looks like, Jesus said. Not just forgiveness, but complete transformation from the inside out. I stayed in that water for what felt like hours, just letting it wash over me. When I finally stepped out, I felt completely different. Clean, pure, renewed. Now, Jesus said, I need to show you something else. The garden around us transformed again. Now we were standing in a beautiful bedroom. Everything was white and gold, and there was this sense of holiness that made me want to whisper, this is how sexuality was meant to be, Jesus said. Sacred, holy, a gift between one man and one woman in marriage. I watched as a scene unfolded before us. A husband and wife, both glowing with the same golden light I'd seen on Jesus. They were making love, but it was nothing like what I'd seen in pornography. It was beautiful, tender, full of genuine love and respect. And above them, I could see angels watching and smiling. This is my design, Jesus said. Not just physical pleasure, but spiritual and emotional union. Two people becoming one, creating life, showing the world what my love for my people looks like. The scene changed to show me what pornography really was. I saw the same dark demons I'd seen in my condo, but now they were surrounding the people in the industry. Men and women who looked dead behind their eyes, going through the motions of sex but experiencing no real love, no connection, no joy. Every video you watched, Jesus said, was someone's daughter or son trapped in bondage, just like you were. Your demand created their supply. Your addiction fed their exploitation. I felt sick to my stomach. I never thought about it that way. I know, Jesus said, the enemy blinds people to the real cost of sin. But Sarah, this is why I'm sending you back. You have a message to share. Back? I said. I have to go back? Your work on earth isn't finished, Jesus said. You have something important to do. I looked around the beautiful garden, then back at Jesus. But I don't want to leave. It's so perfect here. So peaceful. What if I mess up again? What if I fall back into the same patterns? Jesus smiled and placed his hands on my face. Sarah, you won't be going back alone. I'm going with you. And now that you understand the spiritual reality behind your struggle, you can fight it the right way. He walked me over to a tree bearing the most beautiful fruit I'd ever seen. It looked like apples, but they were glowing with inner light. Eat, he said. I took a bite, and it was the most delicious thing I'd ever tasted. But more than that, I felt strength flowing through my entire being. Power, confidence. This is my strength, Jesus said. You can't overcome addiction in your own power. But with my strength, nothing is impossible. He reached into his robe and pulled out a small scroll. This is for you, he said. The message I want you to share. I unrolled the scroll and read it. The words seemed to burn themselves into my heart. Tell my daughters that I see their secret struggle. Tell them that what they do in private matters to me. Tell them that pornography and masturbation are not harmless habits. They are spiritual doors that let the enemy into their lives. Tell them that I love them too much to leave them in bondage. Tell them that freedom is possible, but it requires complete surrender, not just good intentions. Tell them that I'm waiting to wash them clean and make them new. Tell them that their sexuality is sacred, and I have a beautiful plan for it. Tell them that the enemy has lied to them about my heart toward them. I am not angry. I am heartbroken that they are settling for cheap imitations when I have something so much better waiting for them. I rolled up the scroll and held it close to my heart. How do I tell people something so personal and embarrassing? I asked. The same way I'm telling you, Jesus said. With love, not judgment. With hope, not shame. With truth, not condemnation. The garden started to fade around us. I could feel myself being pulled back toward my body. Wait, I said. I have so many questions. What about women who are married but still struggle with this? What about people who have been hurt or abused? What about people who think they're too damaged to be saved? Jesus smiled. Trust me, Sarah, I'll give you the right words when you need them. Just remember, I came to heal broken hearts and set prisoners free. No one is too damaged for my love. I felt myself falling, spinning through space and time. The last thing I heard was Jesus saying, "Tell them I'm coming back soon. Tell them to get ready." Then I was back in my body, gasping for air in the hospital bed. The doctors were working frantically around me, monitoring machines, adjusting IV drips. One of them looked at his watch and said, "She's been unconscious for 45 minutes. Her brain activity just spiked." They had shocked my heart back into rhythm, and my vitals stabilized. I opened my eyes and tried to speak, but all that came out was a whisper. "Jesus." The doctor leaned over me. "Ma'am, can you hear me? You've had a severe stroke. We need to run more tests right away." I spent the next 2 weeks in the hospital. The doctors couldn't explain why I had no permanent brain damage after such a massive stroke. They called it medically miraculous. They said my cognitive function was perfectly normal, which made no sense given what had happened. But I knew why I was okay. I had work to do. The first thing I did when I got home was delete everything. Every app, every website, every bookmark. I threw away magazines and books. I got rid of anything that could trigger me. Then I called my best friend and told her everything, not about the NDE at first, just about my addiction. I needed someone to know. I needed accountability. She was shocked but supportive. She helped me find a Christian counselor who specialized in sexual addiction. I learned that I wasn't alone, that millions of women struggle with this same bondage, but we're too ashamed to talk about it. I learned about brain chemistry and trauma and healthy coping mechanisms, but most importantly, I learned how to really surrender, not just the behavior, but the emotions behind it. Not just the actions, but the thoughts that led to them. It wasn't easy. There were days I wanted to give up, days when the old desires came back stronger than ever. But every time I was tempted, I remembered what Jesus showed me. I remembered the demons. I remembered the garden. I remembered the scroll. And I remembered that I wasn't fighting this battle alone anymore. 6 months after my NDE, I started sharing my story. First with a few close friends, then with my women's group at church, then online. The response was incredible. Hundreds of women reached out to me, telling me they had the same struggles, the same shame, the same feeling that they were the only ones. But they also told me something else. They said that hearing my story gave them hope for the first time in years. They said it helped them understand that this wasn't just a willpower problem. It was a spiritual battle, and spiritual battles need spiritual weapons. I've been completely free now for 2 years. Not because I'm strong, but because Jesus is strong. Not because I don't get tempted, but because I've learned how to fight temptation with his power, instead of trying to handle it on my own. My life looks completely different now. I'm married to an incredible man who loves Jesus as much as I do. We have healthy boundaries and a pure relationship based on God's design. I have joy and peace that I never experienced before. I have purpose and direction, but most importantly, I have freedom. If you're reading this and you're struggling with pornography or masturbation, I want you to know something. Jesus sees you. He knows your secret struggle. He knows the shame you carry in the darkness. He knows how many times you've tried to quit and failed, but he's not angry with you. He's heartbroken that you're settling for a cheap counterfeit when he has something so much better waiting for you. You don't have to fight this battle by yourself. You don't have to carry this shame anymore. Jesus is waiting to wash you clean and make you completely new. But you have to surrender everything. Really surrender. Not just the behavior, but your whole heart. Get help. Find someone you trust. Don't try to handle this in secret anymore. The enemy loves secrets, but Jesus loves truth and honesty. And remember what Jesus told me to tell you. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not too dirty or damaged. His love is bigger than your sin, and his power is stronger than any addiction. Freedom is real. I'm living proof of that. Jesus is coming back soon. He wants to find you ready. He wants to find you free. The choice is yours.